After selling about 2,000 items across Poshmark and eBay over the last 5 or so years, it is very clear to me that there are some flips I would like to repeat over and over again, and others that I would not touch with a 10-foot pole. So I decided to pull some of my all-time best sales and some of the worst sales, or ones that definitely taught me a lesson, and share those with you today. So hopping into the very first one, this is a pair of Rothy's retired print flats. And I don't know if you were around flipping things in 2021, but Rothy's had a huge moment, and this is the kind of item that if you found it at the thrift store, you knew it was going to sell really fast. So this particular pair was a retired print, which was always a good selling point when it came to Rothy's. I bought these for $8.99 at a thrift store, sold them for $125 in 0 days. Same day I listed them. An incredible flip that I would absolutely love to repeat again. Unfortunately, Rothy's has definitely lost value, and I don't think it's as desirable, not as much demand, but for a moment there it was so desirable, and that is the kind of flip that I want to repeat over and over again. This next one was a pair of Lululemon Align leggings. This is a bread and butter all day, but this pair in particular was a little bit more of a unique print. This is the kind of thing I really like coming across. I can rely on it selling. I know it will sell, and for something a little bit more unique like this diamond dye print from Lululemon, I think it can increase the value a little bit. People know they like that style of legging, and then the, slightly more exciting print, I think, probably helped it sell for just a little bit more. But I'm always happy to come across my tried and true bread and butter brands at the bins or wherever I'm thrifting. And for one like this, that sold for a pretty good price, so would love to repeat that again and again. Next up is this pair of Lilly Pulitzer shorts, and these are ones that I would not want to repeat again. These took quite a long time to sell, and they sold for $15. I had purchased them for $9.99 at a regular thrift store, so this is an item that I would probably consider picking up if I were paying Goodwill outlet bins prices, spending $1 or $2, and if it were a slightly bigger size, just because I think extra smalls can be a bit of a hard sell. So I would leave this one behind. It actually ended up leaving me with only $1.67, so just not really worth the time of picking it up, cleaning it up, photographing it, listing it, shipping it. Not really worth it for an under $2 profit. But the print was so beautiful, so I think that also drew me to them. The brand was decent, but I should have factored in how much I was paying for them and the size before picking these up. Next is this Frank and Eileen blazer, and this is a great example of an item I want to find again and again. This sold on Poshmark for $175. I picked this up at a regular thrift store for $9.99, but unlike the last example, this one sold for a much higher price point. It's the kind of item that I don't mind paying up just a tiny bit for, because I know the profit will be there. I know it'll sell pretty quickly, and it's just a sought after item, brand, all of that. Good material contents, so had a lot going for it. Then this Descente vintage ski suit sold on eBay for $140. This one I would love to find again. This one was not only a really great sale, but kind of a fun one for me to come across, because I like to snowboard and love just like that mountain aesthetic and look. So this one was a fun one to come across at the Goodwill outlet, and it only took 1 day to sell. Really great, flip. Yeah, I would love to come across this again. Let me know if you've ever come across this brand Descente. I don't know that I've ever come across it otherwise, but this sale makes me want to find it again. Then this pair of ALC Morgan high-rise pants. These I actually never ended up selling, so I would definitely not want to pick these up again. These sat for a long time until I finally delisted them and redonated them. And the reason I would absolutely not pick these up again is because they were in horrible condition. Sometimes when you come across a good brand, you don't necessarily want to come to terms with the fact that the item is too damaged to pick up and maybe not in any condition to flip. I knew these were in bad condition when I picked them up, but I decided to pick them up anyway and just mentioned how bad the condition was. I don't know why I thought these would sell, but I tried. Evidently they did not, and so I ended up delisting them, but wouldn't pick them up again. Wouldn't recommend picking up something in horrible condition, even if it's a good brand and you wish it were in better condition. This one, on the other hand, I absolutely would. This was a Massimo Dutti black leather moto jacket, and it's a great example of a good high quality fabric, nice genuine leather. Sold very well on Poshmark for $130. Would love to come across that again. I have sold that brand only one other time, but it didn't flip for nearly as much because this one was genuine leather. So love coming across anything that's a really high quality fabric and just a good style. Can do super, super well. Speaking of items that can do super well, this was a Hudson oversized quilted jacket, sold for $125 on Poshmark. And I think the reason I would love to flip this again and again, aside from the fact that it was a great sale price, it just goes to show how much the style and like what's trending can really impact it. This was during a time, I think about a year ago probably, where quilted jackets were really on trend, just like having an extra big moment. And I remember coming across this at the Goodwill outlet. It's pretty lightweight, so I was pretty intrigued, thought I'd pick it up. Hudson hasn't done super well for me as far as their jeans go, which they're pretty expensive, but just reselling wise, like it just doesn't necessarily sell super well, at least in my experience. But when I came across this jacket, I checked the comps on it and was quite shocked at how much this jacket was selling for. There weren't that many listed, so it was not saturated. So, you know, just a good style, a good recognizable brand, but funny enough, like the category I would expect to find for this brand was not this, and yet it sold super well. And I also think the color Merlot may have had something to do with it. It's just a nice color, good like fall, winter color. So had a lot going for it. All right, then another good example of an item that I would not want to pick up again, would not want a repeat of this one. This was a Joie silk dress that I paid $44 for. Don't remember if it was at a buy sell trade store or if it was just priced up at a thrift store, but I spent $44 on this. It was new with tags and a good brand, so I thought it had enough going for it to be worth that cost of good. I was very wrong. It sold for $52, so I lost $14.22. I basically ended up selling it for right around what I bought it for, but then I ended up having to pay the platform fee, and just all around was not worth it. So wouldn't repeat that one. Learned my lesson. I rarely pay up for items like that anymore, especially not that high. Like paying up to me now is like $15, $20, $44. That is just diabolical for an item that I don't know exactly how it's gonna go, so would not do that again. Next was an item I would love to repeat, and this is a Represent Chloe men's puffer jacket. This one sold on eBay for $100, and this was one that I did not know the brand, but when I came across this item at the Goodwill outlet, I could tell it was high quality. It was a nice, like, what was it, duck down, and just a good style, nice puffer. I think I even listed this in the winter. It sold in about 2 weeks, so it's one of my favorite things ever about thrifting, is coming across a brand you don't know, but you could just tell right away that it's something worth looking into. And this was an instance where that definitely resulted in a very good sale, quick, high price sale. It just reminds me that being curious is always a good thing, and if something is intriguing, it's really worth taking the 30 seconds to quickly look it up, Google Lens search it, or type it in on eBay and just see what the comps are, you know, if it's something potentially worth picking up. The next one I would love to repeat again and again is this frame puff sleeve shirt. This one was a Goodwill outlet pickup and sold for $85 on eBay. Took a little while to sell, took a few months, but eventually left me with about a $63 profit. Frame is typically a brand that I find jeans in, so it's kind of cool to come across a different category but still have it be the denim that they're so well known for. And this is a brand that is pretty expensive but doesn't always resell super well, so when I came across this one, I thought it was unique enough to look into a little bit more. It's actually a brand I tend to pass on quite a bit just because it hasn't done super well. Sometimes it has, but it really is hit or miss for me, at least. For this one, the demand was definitely higher than the supply. I was only able to find like 2 other listings available on either Poshmark or eBay, and quite a few sold listings, which is always a good sign. That means there are people wanting to buy the item and there aren't a ton already listed. So for that reason, I would love to pick up this kind of item again. where it is not saturated and the demand is definitely there. Next is this pair of Fry ballet flats, and I actually don't have a picture of the listing because I never listed them, but I'm hoping I can find some old like YouTube footage to insert here. But this pair ended up being fake, so I didn't end up listing them. Ended up losing a little bit of money on those. I spent $5.59, not a huge loss, but still not something I ever want to happen. And I certainly at this point in time do my due diligence. I never want to pick up anything that's fake. I will not sell it if it is. It's always much better to find out it's fake and just leave it at the thrift store than bring it home and then find out. Then this is a good example of an item that's super easy to list, and I would definitely love to come across it again. This was a vintage Christian Dior houndstooth zip top makeup bag. This was a great $80 sale on Poshmark. Super easy to store, very small. Obviously it's designer, so that's always a good thing to come across, but when it's easy to photograph, easy to list, easy to store, and easy to ship out eventually, I think it's just like makes it all so easy. Another flip I would love to repeat over and over is this smart wool jacket. This one sold for $68 on eBay. I listed it in prime winter time, so this was a seasonal win. Definitely was, such a quick flip because of the time of year, the time that I listed it. That's the kind of item I love to come across when it's the perfect time of year and someone's gonna snatch it right up. That is like the best time to find an item like this. Then here's one that I would absolutely leave behind every time and really honestly do at this point. But this is an Aritzia Wilfred merino wool sweater. And on the surface, it looks like a cute, fine sweater, but when you look a little closer at my exact item, you will see that it is shrunken quite a bit, and I ended up selling it for $8, which I don't even know how it ended up selling in the end. It was a shrunken wool sweater, which at this point, it's like, no thank you, I will leave you behind every single time. But at this point in time, early on in my thrifting and flipping clothes days, I was picking up something like this thinking it wasn't shrunk or thinking that I could sell it. I'm not really sure. I don't think I knew it was shrunk at the time. Now I give wool sweaters that I think are a little shrunk a little pull and hope that, they're not actually shrunken, but a lot of times they are. So those I want to leave behind every single time. Then this was a pair of a Goldie jeans, and I would love to flip this again. Not only was it a really good brand, but the style was very good, which, too many times I've come across a good brand, but the style wasn't great, especially when it comes to denim. Skinny jeans are something I would not pick up. Super distressed jeans are another item I would not pick up as far as jeans styles go. But a good tapered pair or high rise, low rise, wide leg, flare leg, boot cut can do very well. And this pair did very, very well. It sold the same day I listed it for $80 on Poshmark. So super great flip, great brand and great style, resulted in a very good sale. Another flip I would love to flip again. This is a Diane von Furstenberg evening gown maxi dress. This sold for $72 on Poshmark. And for an item like this, it's a category that can take a little while to sell. People aren't constantly on the lookout for dresses necessarily unless they have a reason they need to get a dress. I really like selling dresses. I think that they are a category that people are willing to pay up a little bit for. And of course, this is a brand that sells for quite a bit of money. It's likely retailed at like $300 or $400, maybe a little bit more even, and ended up selling for $72, which to me is a really great sale. Whoever bought this got a good deal. I made a great profit. I did buy that at the Goodwill outlet, so it left me with about $55 in profit in the end. Then this pair of Outdoor Voices leggings is a good example of an item I would not want to repeat again. It's really just a good example of like the niche athletic brands that have a moment in time that they do well, maybe, and then they kind of fall off and something new, comes in its place. So I think Outdoor Voices did have a good moment where I remember flipping like some leggings and some bike shorts and a few things that flipped pretty well. But then when it came down to this pair, maybe a few years into that, it just didn't sell as well. And I ended up delisting these and redonating them. So wouldn't want to pick these up again. There are certain brands like Alphalete is another one I can think of that just doesn't sell that well. I would guess that some people would probably say that about Gymshark, although I still kind of have good luck with Gymshark. But there are just a lot of niche athletic brands that kind of come and go, and if they are on their way out, it's definitely not worth picking them up. Just better off leaving them behind. Then this is a J. Peterman pop-over long sleeve that I would love to find again. This is actually the only time I've ever found this brand. And the main reason I would love to find it again is because it sold the same day I listed it. And this is actually a brand that was new to me when I came across it, but I really thought the style was good. It said Lexington, Kentucky, so figured it was made in the US, maybe something worth looking into. And it was, because it sold for $35 on eBay the same day I listed it. This brand has a Seinfeld tie-in, which one of you told me in the comments when I originally shared this sale. This is like a very popular brand, I guess from like the 90s. And it sold really, really fast. This last one is basically the holy grail and what everybody wants to find when they're out thrifting. And that was this Loro Piana men's cable knit sweater. So beautiful, sold for $850 on eBay. This is like a once in a blue moon kind of a flip, but this is what keeps people coming back, and it's like the best kind of, you know, find to find. So would of course want to repeat this one, and hopefully you will. So let me know down in the comments if you have an item that you would love to repeat over and over in particular, or if you have one that you're like always thinking about when you're out thrifting and hoping to find. Let me know down in the comments. But thank you for watching. I hope you have a very good rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.